Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, and we are on verse 38.
Say that one more time.
1, 5, 38. Narada Muni is getting towards the end of his instructions. Iti murti apitanena mantra murtim amurtikam yajate yagnya purusham sasamyak darshanat puman. Thus, he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who has no material form. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect in realizing the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be fully realized by the sound representation. Person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? This experience is not a vague impersonal experience, it is actually an experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead, who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In the Amarakosha Sanskrit dictionary, the word murti carries import in twofold meanings, namely form and difficulty. Therefore, amurtikam is explained by Acharya Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as meaning without difficulty. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representations. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatrika system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatrika system has the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord, certainly not by dry philosophical speculation. The Pancharatrika system is both practical and suitable for this age of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta for this modern age. Vajnana Timidantasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai.
Thus he is the actual seer, who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who has no material form. So, this is Narada Muni's conclusion on the process, the practice of devotional service. In the previous verse, he said, let us chant the glories of Vasudeva along with Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshana. He's built up the case for practicing bhakti yoga, and this is the fundamental way to do it, through chanting. So in this purport, Prabhupada talks about the transcendental form of the Lord, who has no material form. Amurtika means no form. He has no material form. Krishna has no form of matter. He doesn't have a form in the way we understand forms. He is himself transcendental existence, so he has spiritual form. And that's not something you can just kind of figure out, because it's not something we have any correlate for. Our experience is in a world of matter. So Therefore, amorticum in that sense means no form. No form as we know it. It doesn't have a beginning or an end, because all the forms are just temporary shells. So it's not like that. Also, amorticum means no difficulty. This is a simple way. This is the way to actually chant, to actually approach Krishna is without difficulties through mantra. Mantra murtim, through the form of mantra, amorticum, without difficulty. Without difficulty, you can approach Krishna through mantra murti, the form of mantra. That's how he chooses to manifest himself, right? And Srimad Bhagavatam describes that in this age of Kali, persons whose vision is darkened by the sun of Krishna setting. He leaves the planet in his Krishna form. You know, he was walking on the planet with 2 feet. That form leaves the planet. Doesn't end, just like the sun doesn't end. The sun sets. It's like, okay, it's around summer, but I don't see it anymore, so I'm in darkness. Bhagavatam says when that sun of Krishna sets, he comes himself as the Bhagavatam. The sound vibration of Bhagavatam is a way to experience Krishna. It also says in probably a couple of dozen verses in different places that the holy name of the Lord is all important. This Kali Yuga, O King Parikshit, is an ocean of faults, right? An ocean of faults. Just like you come to an ocean and every drop is a drop of water. This age of Kali, every drop of it is a fault. You can sit around counting all the different ways it's messed up and you'll never come to the end of it. So that's not really our process. It won't make you happy. Sitting around pointing out faults, finding faults. You'll find them in yourself, you'll find them in others. It's an ocean of faults, confirmed. That's the Eko Mahangunaha. There's one amazing quality. Kirtanad eva Krishnasya mukti sangha parang vrajet. Just by kirtan, just by glorifying the holy name of Krishna, mukti sangha, you actually become completely liberated from all the association with everything that's going wrong, everything that's falling apart, all the matter, which you're not. You become completely free from that. Mukti sangha parang vrajet, and you attain the highest destination. This is what it's all about. Mantra murti mamurtikam. Without difficulty, worship the Lord through mantra murti, the form of mantra. So that's what Prabhupada means when he talks about the Pancharatric system. So in the Vedantic system, we're talking about the Vedic system means that you have a completely formed social system where from birth people, well, first of all, before birth, the couple who are going to conceive, they actually purify their consciousness before they conceive to call forth, they're not creating anybody, but they're calling forth children of elevated consciousness, souls. Excuse me. And then the children are born. We recognize their actual qualities. We engage them in the different duties that will be natural for those qualities. They get trained in them from birth, practically. You have fully formed gurukuls where you can actually learn how to practice your senses, get all material and spiritual knowledge, and become qualified as brahmanas from the age of 5 for young men. Then they get initiated by their spiritual masters, and in this way they become qualified with very peaceful minds, completely celibate, completely sattvic, to study the Vedanta. And in this way they gradually start to realize the same thing the Bhagavatam is telling us, but step by step. By dwelling in the higher modes of material nature, actually being qualified that way, they can read Vedanta, the Vedanta Sutra, of which the Bhagavatam is the commentary, the natural commentary by the author. Vedanta Sutra is by Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam is Vyasadev's ripe commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And the sutra means just a little tiny, small tidbit, like a few words in a sentence. That's it. One sentence is a sutra. For example, the first sutra of Vedanta is Atatu Brahma Jignasa. Therefore, now is the time to inquire about the greatest, about Brahman, about the supreme, about spiritual. And books and books and books of commentary are given on those like 7 words, right? But the problem is Vedanta, you can interpret it in all kinds of weird ways, especially impersonally, is the predominant popular misinterpretation of Vedanta. So rather than trying to like create that entire system, which we don't have anymore in Kali Yuga because it's an ocean of faults, we don't actually go to Vedanta that way. We follow the Pancharatric. Pancharatric means, actually the Pancharatra, there's the Leela there where Lord Brahma, who heard the Vedas himself personally, he went to sleep, as all living entities have to do. And when he was sleeping, his memories were stolen by two demons, Kaitaba, and I think Madhu and Kaitaba. They stole his memories of the Veda. And the Lord comes in an incarnation and takes them back. And he teaches as Hayagriva, the horse-necked incarnation. And he actually teaches Brahma in 5 nights. Pancha, 5, Ratra, nights. In 5 nights, he summarizes the Veda for him. Here's a summary. Just like Lord Chaitanya gives us, okay, there's 64 items of devotional service, but here's 5. Here's a summary for you. The 5 most important, because you got to know your audience, right? Especially in this age. So in the Pancharatra, in 5 nights, he summarizes. Narada himself writes a book on Pancharatra. It's called the Narada Pancharatra. It's about bhakti. It's about how to worship the Lord in deity worship. It's about chanting. It's about the fundamental practices of bhakti. So Pancharatra has to do with organizing your life in such a way you wake up in order to wake the deity up. You actually serve the deity of Krishna. You actually chant. And in all your deity worship, the chanting is central. You organize your life in such a way you gather food so you can offer to the deity. You do little offerings for the deity. You bring people over, have kirtan. This is Pancharatra, simple, practical. And as Prabhupada's pointing out, this is more, what's the word he uses?
Authorized.
Practical and suitable, recognized and authorized than Vedanta. It works. And it works for us. In order to actually deal with the disease, you actually have to have a proper diagnosis, and then you have to have a proper prescription, right? It's not enough to be like, here's the disease. We're just going to deal with everyone's disease in the same way. It manifests differently for different people in different contexts. This is Kali Yuga. Our capacities, our social structures don't support sitting around. I mean, I don't want to dismiss the culture of sitting and studying Vedanta. It's not just sitting around. We can't do that. We can't just do that. Mm-hmm. Eventually you can. Eventually you can actually purify yourself through transcendental sound vibration, deity worship, so you can read Vedanta Sutra and be like, yeah, I actually understand how this is talking about the transcendental personality of Godhead. Mm-hmm. And that includes then reading Bhagavatam, because that's what Vyasadeva expands Vedanta Sutra into, to comment on it. Eventually you can do that. By following Pancharatra, you can do that. But you can't just create it out of thin air. So Pancharatra is authorized, it's practical, it's suitable, means we have to chant Hare Krishna, we have to chant Krishna's names. We have to try to organize our lives in such a way that we can do that. Wake up and get some rounds in early. If you don't have a deity, get pictures of your favorite deity and offer food to that deity, and develop a personal relationship, and read the Srimad Bhagavatam. In this chapter, Vyasadeva, if you remember, was not feeling happy. He was feeling dissatisfied after giving Vedanta Sutra, no less, and so many other shastras. He was feeling dissatisfied, and like we all should do when we feel dissatisfied, he took shelter of his guru, Narada Muni. And Narada Muni comes and says, you're not satisfied because you're not being direct enough. Here's my life previously. He talks about how he was a boy, didn't know anything, became purified by the association of devotees, chanted the mantras they gave him, practiced bhakti, became perfect, left that body, and got his spiritual body as Narada. So Vyasadeva is going to hear this and be like, light bulb, I get it. That is his inspiration for manifesting Srimad Bhagavatam. That's where it comes from, this conversation. It's actually not taking its origin in that. It's an eternal sound vibration, but Vyasadeva surrenders himself to Krishna and sits down, and in meditation on Krishna, he realizes the Bhagavatam, speaks it. It's written down, and that becomes the Srimad Bhagavatam once again for people to study. So this conversation with his guru, Narada Muni, the author of Narada Pancharatra, and a great devotee, one of the all-time greats, is the inspiration for Vyasadeva to actually take the direct route and help us to take the direct route. Practice chanting of mantra murtim amurtikam, form of the Lord, mantra form that is available without difficulty. Otherwise, there's so many speculations, so many ideas. People read Bhagavad Gita, if they haven't actually purified themselves through chanting, if they haven't heard Bhagavad Gita from devotees who have done that also, then they have so many ideas. Oh, Krishna's this, Krishna's that, Krishna. It's like, it hurts the heart of devotees even to repeat the kinds of ideas people have about Bhagavad Gita. It's not real. He's this, he's that, he's an idea. He's the unborn, unmanifest. Like, it's very clear. And you can actually, for those who actually take to the authorized practices of bhakti and run that experiment in their lives, then the import of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam becomes very clear. The statements of the devotees confirming it become very satisfying and intellectually clear as well. It's not just emotionally satisfying, it's intellectually complete. So the deep philosophy of how the Lord is simultaneously one with everyone and also separate from, simultaneously a person and also the source of impersonal energies. All this is realized through chanting Hare Krishna and worshiping the transcendental sound of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's Narada's conclusion. And it's a mortigum, it's without difficulty. Om Tat Sat. So this is a famous verse. I think it's a verse actually I gave class on or I heard a friend give class on way back in 2010, like real early, or 2011. And we were studying, I think, this chapter. And our guide in the studies picked this verse out. We were all giving like one verse a week. And it was either my turn to give class on it, or I think it might have been Bhakti and Lee's gave class on it. I remember this verse. And I've heard it quoted in classes. It's really classic because it's talking about the mantra form of Krishna. That's like one of the 4 or 5 most important things to take away from Shastra. And it's without difficulty. So, Hare Krishna. Literally Haribol. Literally chant the names.
So this is why we call deities that aren't, or murtis. We often call small forms.
Yeah, Murti means form.
Of Krishna.
That's one of its meanings.
Right, representation is
mantra Murti, the form in the mantra.
And then the Murti, like a small, Govinda or Radha Krishna, right? It's a way to bring a form into your home out beyond a picture, but not yet deity.
Yeah, it's a form. Pictures also work. The Bhagavatam is also
would a picture be called a Murti?
If you treat it as such, sure. They're non-different. Murti just means form in this context. The Bhagavatam is also Murti. And Prabhupada, in his transcendental inspiration, made sure it was filled with so many beautiful pictures. So that also works. Let's see if Vyasadeva and Narada Muni are here. I feel like they should be, right?
Yeah.
This whole Leela. There's Narada. Oh, here they are. Here's
that mountains and a lake.
Yeah, that's in Bhadragashram at the Shami Prad's cottage by the Saraswati River. There's Narada Muni saying this. This is a what's it called? And mudra. It's a mudra. This is the Gyan mudra. No, this is not the Gyan mudra. This is the instruction mudra. This is a Gyan mudra.
Yeah.
This is instruction. You see Prabhupada sometimes in his pictures, he's doing like this. He's like making a point. If you ever find yourself like teaching somebody something and you do this, it's natural. It's a natural way of like, Krishna is a person, right? So this Narada Muni is instructing his disciple, Vyasadeva, who is surrendered to him to hear this. This is a picture of the conversation. Here's Narada Muni wandering through the cosmos.
What's his instrument he always uses? It's probably written there.
Veena?
Veena. I think it is Veena.
Yeah, it's a Veena. Narada Muni Bhajai Veena Radhika Ramana Name. Yeah, it's Veena. So this is also a transcendental form of the Lord. Everyone get a Bhagavatam, put it in your home, worship it.
And everybody has one on this call.
Worship it by, I can see one behind Leanne. There it is. So beautiful, Bhagavatam. You can worship it by reading a little bit every day, like we're doing today. Bhagavatam is not just for Fridays. Fridays we just get together and we do it in this form, but you can all do it at home. Wisdom of the Sages have been doing it. You can ask them how happy it makes them. There's nothing better. Chant Hare Krishna, read the Bhagavatam, be with devotees. Amurtikam, no problem. What's the problem? There is no difficulty. Prabhupada said, what is the difficulty? Difficulty is if we trip ourselves up and forget that the simple process works. We skip a day, like you skip your day in your medication. It's like, I'll do twice the next day. No, follow what the prescription said. Follow the pharmacist. They went to school for a bunch of years. Follow the doctor. They know what they're doing. And if you don't follow it, then you'll be like, yeah, I don't feel right. Yeah, I want to do it again better tomorrow. That's okay. No problem. No loss. get yourself some wisdom by doing it the not perfect way, and then do it a little better next time. That's all it is. More comments, questions, reflections.
Sorry, Ball.
You will.
I was thinking about how um after I got back from India this this earlier winter, um, I was having a really hard time with my chanting because like I was so immersed in India and I really could like just go deep in my chanting and it was a completely different experience. And then you bring it here and like in my house right now, I have a dog walking around and a kid on the couch and it's like, it's not the same experience. And so um I remember I was just like, I decided I would just chant the mantra really loudly. Not like loud, not like yell it, but just like not whisper it, not say it quietly, not say it like actually speak like I'm speaking right now and allow the
Hare Krishna,
mantra. Yeah.
Hare Rama. Yeah.
Hari Rama Rama. Yeah, exactly. Rama Rama Hari Hari. And I would just speak it and I would allow the sound to just work its magic. I would allow the mantra to actually do what it's intended to do. And it was through that practice, and it was like a couple weeks that I had to do this, that the mantra was able to kind of like bring me back into the practice. But it wasn't because I was doing anything specific. It was just that I had faith and trust in the mantra and in this Murti, this beautiful Murti that's been handed to us. And um I'll never forget that experience and how that actually helped propel my japa moving forward. And I was just thinking about that through this teaching, and it's really significant connection to understand that further. So thank you.
Thanks for that practical application. Yeah, whatever it takes.
And expect it to happen again.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when you're in the Dham, it's not just India. It's especially the Dham. The places we went to are holy tirthas. They're holy places where tremendous amounts of bhakti have been performed or continue to be performed. Krishna practiced or practiced. Krishna just lived, in Vrindavan, and devotees have been deeply engaged in bhakti since then. So Vrindavan is a very special place, and these holy places, it is easier to chant. Temples like with established deities where there's a population of devotees seriously practicing, as soon as you walk in, it's easier to chant. I remember when I lived at home, like in my own apartment, 2012, I would go to the Toronto temple every so often. I would stay for like a weekend. My guru would come and he would have like a few days there, and I would go and just stay at the temple. And I just needed less sleep every time I was there. I'd be fully rested, and my japa was better because, and I've always experienced that in different continents. I've experienced that because it's the accumulated effect of all the devotees practicing in the mercy of the deities. It's real. It's real. So there's like oh, I miss that kind of experience when you leave that. And Amurtikam, Krishna is totally present in his names. And your example, your own reflection is like an example of how by realizing that, like Krishna, like Lord Chaitanya says in the second verse of the Shikshastakam, Nam Namakadi Bahutan Nija Sattva Shaktis. In these holy names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. Everything is actually in his names. That's what Lord Chaitanya's conviction was. And the conviction of any devotee takes chanting seriously. So if we're at a place where we're not feeling the Vrindavan mood, there's no deity in the same way, there's no morning program, there's all these things we don't have. If you have the mantra and you completely sell out to the mantras like Krishna, I know you're in there. I know all of that's in there. The whole spiritual world is in here. And just, chant it loudly and ask for it. You get it. You get what you need because Krishna is available. So, and my realization from those kinds of things happening is it's a lila that Krishna plays with us to get us to go deeper, to get us to kind of chase after him and to thicken our relationship with him. It's nothing more than that. It's just Krishna and you deepening your relationship. Because otherwise, for me, as a conditioned soul, I would take him for granted. If he gave everything right away, I absolutely would take him for granted. And so there's a way in which my own capacity for love and service is being drawn out of me by that challenge. a temporary Murti, temporary difficulty. Then you get to, oh yeah, this is actually like the easiest thing in the world. Through some adjustments, some personal endeavor, some commitment, and that's always happening. It's regularly happening. So and it's very sweet.
Krishna hide and seek.
Krishna hide and seek. But he's always there even when he's not there. He's actually always there. But yeah, chanting loudly is also advice that Srila Prabhupada gave disciples for dealing with the mind. Or if you have external distractions, it's very practical. Actually, the mantra is completely efficacious even silently. But the problem is that our mind is not a transparent medium. We can't chant our mantras in our mind. Yoga Sutras explain, like, after a couple of seconds, it's very difficult. Almost without training, it's almost impossible to keep the mind on any one thing, even Krishna's name, for more than like 2.5 seconds. Even that's a long time. The mind is so fast, so restless. So chanting out loud is the way to actually do that.
It's like a bind. It binds the mind.
It binds the mind. Yeah.
Sound vibration that just like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's the air and also around. And that makes sense when you're in a place where people have been practicing. It's just like that energy and that vibration is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, so chanting loudly, chanting softly only for yourself to hear, and chanting in the mind are 3 different authorized ways to chant. Haridas Thakur used all of them. But the easiest ones are the louder ones. And as you get quite more and more soft, it's more challenging until the mind is more trained. If you start chanting loudly and you get into a good groove, you can get into like the more muttering kind of like no one can hear you except yourself, and it works, and you're actually in that zone. And if you chant really good rounds or really good kirtan, the mantra is going in your head afterwards. Like you can't even turn it off. It's just joyful. It's like you get a wonderful kirtan, and for a couple hours it's just going, and you're like, wow, I want to be like this forever. That's the after effect of a purified mind from really good Nam Seva. So start loud. Any more reflections on the mantra Murti, Pancharatra, questions about Pancharatra, Vedanta?
Yeah, I was gonna just say, thank you for talking about how the Srimad Bhagavatam is like a Murti, because I just was reflecting then after you talked about that on when I received the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I didn't open it until like I was like, okay, I need this to be like a special, like it's like so special. So where's it gonna go? And then putting like a little cloth down for it, and then just using like little incense around it and offering flour to it and stuff like that. So because I felt like I didn't realize, like I knew how special it was, but that really puts it into perspective that like they are the Murtis.
Yeah.
So
And
thank you for talking about that.
in our movement, we're all about distributing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So when you find someone in your life who's ready for a little bhakti, get them a Srimad Bhagavatam set, or get them to come to your house and start reading Bhagavatam. I remember when I was a monk, we would people would come to the temple, they'd be interested in the bhakti, they thought it was cool, they like kirtan, they like prasad, because I mean, come on, it's the most fun you'll ever have. And then they're like, want to get a little deeper, we start sharing more and more. Next thing you know, we'd have Mother Nidra, pure devotee, me and a handful of other devotees go to their home with a Bhagavatam set. That when they buy a Bhagavatam set, we or maybe we get like a discounted one, or we get like an already paid for one we could donate depending on their financial situation. We would actually have a little kirtan and crack open the first canto and read, and they would like start their relationship, and they promised to read it regularly, and it was always so much fun. So in Bhagavatam 1.3.43, there's this verse: this Bhagavata Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Narada Muni ki jai. Pancharatra system, mantra Murti, Amortikam ki jai.
Jai.
Vancha kalpatu
Patu
pyo
Vishta
jai.
Kripa
Kapasam
Sindhu
kuge
Devacha
Patitana Pavityo. Vaishnavityo Namo Namaha. Happy chanting and reading. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mm.